good, Commanders fans, and happy Friday. Hope everybody has a great Friday and a happy weekend for sure. Just wanted to do my annual early wide receiver prediction of who's going to make the roster. I do this every year after the draft. I just don't really see us signing another receiver to the room until maybe right before training camp. But even that, I don't think it's really necessary, especially with some of the UDFAs that we brought in. So you look at the list, you look at the guys. Of course, Terry's our wide receiver number one. He is a top 10 receiver in this league. You got Noah Brown, the addition of Deebo Samuel, drafted Jalen Lane, Luke McCaffrey, KJ Osborne's on the roster still, Michael Gallup's on the roster still, Michael Strachan is on the roster. So Chris Moore is on the roster still, Jacoby Jones, Ja'Cory Brooks, Kazmir Allen is still on the 90-man roster as of right now. So my philosophy about receivers, I say this every year, I don't think it's really necessary to keep 7, especially this year with a guy that we drafted to be a punt returner. Typically, we keep 7 over the past couple of years is because we want to have a receiver that is specifically suited for punt returning, but they may not be as good as a receiver. Where I feel like Jalen Lane, we drafted him really to be a punt returner, but I think he can be just as good as a punt returner as a receiver, or just as good as a receiver or a punt returner. I feel like he can really make an impact as a receiver, if not his rookie year, but his second year, third year. I really think he can definitely be impactful, whether it's getting 500 receiving yards, 400 receiving yards. That's getting 500, 400 receiving yards would be better than some of the production that we got last year from our wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 2. Well, not 2 because Noah Brown, but it would be better than like what we got from wide receiver 4 and stuff like that. So getting 400 receiving yards from Jalen Lane would be pretty solid as a rookie. So that's how I feel about that. But I just don't think it's really necessary to keep 7, which they like to do that. I think we kept 7 last year. But looking at, of course, your core guys are Terry, Deebo, Luke McCaffrey is going to be a core guy this year. There's a possibility where he may be starting. He may be your starting slot receiver. Looking at the depth chart right now, our lads, they have Deebo as your starting slot receiver. They have Noah Brown as your starting right wide receiver, and Terry McLaurin as your starting left wide receiver. Terry did line up on the left side a lot because Cliff likes to do that, and then Cliff started to move him around after he got called out by some of the media, and the offense was getting stale at one point during the season. Like the Titans game, the first play of the game, he had Terry motion to the right, and Terry got a touchdown in that game. So, but yes, I do think that's going to be the starters. Terry, Deebo in the slot or outside, Noah outside as well. Luke McCaffrey will come off the bench but get a lot of snaps, and then Jalen Lane will come off the bench and get a lot of snaps too. KJ Osborne is on the, and he's going to be battling now. Since they bought in Jalen Lane, and we all thought they were going to draft a receiver, but especially now since they brought in a rookie, Michael Gallup is going to be battling for that 6th spot. KJ Osborne is going to be battling for that 6th spot. And then now they brought in some other guys that could be really impactful on that battle for the 6th or 7th spot on the team for that final receiver. Ja'Cory Brooks, who went to Alabama for a year, then transferred to Louisville, was a dog this past season, had 1,000 yards on the season, a good amount of touchdowns, has yak ability. He's not the fastest guy in the world, but he's a dog. One-hand catches, contested catches, body control, tracking the football in the air. You look at the one play, he had a pass interference and still caught the ball with one hand and just galloped right into the end zone for a touchdown. So this guy can play. He's got a lot of dog in him. He talks a lot of trash. Like how he does celebrate after the first down and converting and stuff like that. So I like Ja'Cory Brooks a lot, man. I think he's like, 6'1", 6'2", something like that. So he does provide some size and some height that we are looking for on this roster. Jacoby Jones isn't bad either. Had an injury-riddled college career, but where he was before UCF, he had a solid season. Then he had a couple good games for UCF. He had a 100-yard game against UCF as well. So Jacoby Jones can play, man. So they got a couple guys. They got this fire truck going on and whatnot. But they hope they're okay, of course. But Jacoby Jones and Ja'Cory Brooks, they may just push some guys on the roster. Like that is highly, highly, highly possible. So I do want to look at some of the stats from last year, like I was talking about the third receiver. So Zach Ertz had 654 receiving yards. He's a tight end. Olamide Zaccheaus had 506 receiving yards last year. He was our second leading wide receiver. Noah Brown with 453. He was our third leading wide receiver, and he only played in 11 games. Then after that, De'Ami Brown with 308 yards. So this year, Terry should get 1,000 yards easily like he always does, and at least double-digit touchdowns. Deebo should give you say around 700 to 800 receiving yards and probably like 6 or 7 touchdowns, and they'll probably give you like 2 or 3 rushing touchdowns. And then after that, Noah Brown will probably give you about 500 yards receiving, and that's pretty darn good. Like if you can get a 1,000-yard receiver and then an 800-yard receiver and then a 500-yard receiver, and then Zach Ertz is going to give you about 600 yards receiving because he's just so reliable on this team, on this roster. That's really good. And then let's say Jalen Lane gives you about 300 to 400 receiving yards, and those big plays let's say out of the 400 receiving yards, he gives you a 60-yard bomb, a 50-yard bomb, and a couple yards after the catch plays for Jalen Lane. That's kind of my projection for Jalen Lane. Then Luke McCaffrey, you throw him in the mix too, he gives you about 300, 400 receiving yards. That's a really good receiving core. That's a darn good receiving core there. And then Eckler's going to give you receiving yards too. But to focus on that competition for that last spot, you really had to keep your eye on KJ Osborne, who had more passes. He had more penalties than receiving yards last year. So I know we signed him late in the season, but he's on the cusp. He's on thin ice. He's going to have to really, really compete for that last spot. Like I said, Luke McCaffrey's a shoo-in for sure. I think his spot is very, very safe. Michael Strachan will most likely be a practice squad or release. Jacoby Jones will most likely be a practice squad. Casimir Allen practice squad. Chris Moore practice squad. Jalen Lane making a roster. But Ja'Cory Brooks is the one guy that I'm really, really keeping an eye on as a UDFA that has a strong chance, in my opinion. I really want to hear how he does in rookie minicamps. We know Rosemary Jack Saint did a great job in rookie minicamps, and he didn't make the roster, but he made the practice squad. And then the Eagles took him away. So I'm hoping that he's not a guy that does really well. He doesn't make the 53-man roster. He does pretty well in the preseason games. And then another team takes him off the practice squad. So that's what I'm hoping does not happen with Ja'Cory Brooks. But if he outperforms Michael Gallup, he outperforms KJ Osborne. This is the 6-man projection that I have. I have Terry, Debo, Luke McCaffrey, Jalen Lane, Noah Brown, and Ja'Cory Brooks. So those are 6 receivers. Terry number 1, Debo number 2, Luke number 3, Noah number 4, Jalen number 5, and Ja'Cory Brooks is number 6. Or you could look at it this way: if Ja'Cory Brooks doesn't make the roster, if it's between Michael Gallup and between KJ Osborne for that last 6th spot to make the roster, I think they would choose Michael Gallup just because of the familiarity there with Dan Quinn and Michael Gallup. KJ Osborne, let's see, maybe he does outperform Michael Gallup in training camp and some of the preseason games. Maybe he does play really well. Now, they did bring in, what was the tall receiver, Martavis Bryant. He played well in the preseason. Like, he had a touchdown in that last game, and they still released him. They didn't even bring him back to the practice squad. So I was very surprised about that. So that's another former Dallas receiver. So I can't really just go off of just the familiarity thing there. But I do think they like Ja'Cory Brooks, and I think he's going to make an impact in training camp. That's one guy, if I do go to training camp, which I'm going to do my best to do that this year, is I'm definitely going to be keeping an eye on Ja'Cory Brooks for that last wide receiver spot there. So you guys let me know what you guys think about that. I do want to talk a little bit about OTAs and just go over some pictures here. I'll probably go over like 2 or 3 pictures. I may show like some photos, like the full thing where it shows like 10 photos at one time. But I definitely want to talk about Debo a little bit. Debo looks good. He looks locked in. He looks like he's lost some weight there, like he shedded some pounds, which was definitely the concern that I had before trading for him. And there was a reporter for the Niners that said he was at a tight end weight. Now, I know Debo, like, one of his strengths is just being a strong receiver, just being bigger than DBs, where he can just run guys over and just big body guys and big boy guys. And just have that where he's like a bowling ball where he's just running over people, bouncing off people, the contact balance. So him being a little bit bigger than other receivers kind of helps him out. And it gives him the name. His name is Debo, but where he is like Debo-ing people, he's bullying people. So, but I do like that he's locked in. He's working out. He does look slimmer. He does look more cut up. He does look stronger. Of course, the picture that we saw where he was in that Eagles jersey where he had a gut, he looked fluffy, he looked doughy, he looked out of shape. He had a beer belly. So I think he looks good in these photos, man. He just does. And I'm not going to get too worked up over OTA photos, but it's just something to take a look at for sure. Of course, here's this picture of Jaden Daniels. They do have that sports brassiere on. It's like, I don't know what it's supposed to do, but everybody wears it. Like, I've seen basketball players wore it first. Like, that's where I first saw basketball players wearing it like 4 or 5 or 6 years ago. That's when I first saw these sports brassieres. That was the first time I've seen that. But Jaden's got that swag, man. He's got the Grinch the Kobe Grinch 6s on. He's got that swag. He loves basketball, but you see him locked in, man. I really wish I don't know if they have an official 40-yard dash for Jaden. I gotta look that up and Google it, but I know he definitely ran like a 4. He probably ran like a 4.4. That's how fast he is. That's how fast I play. Colin Schlee, he ran a 4.5. So I know Jaden ran a 4.5. He probably runs like a 4.5 or something. Like Jalen Milrow, I think he ran the 40-yard dash. I think he ran like a 4.4, 4.5 or something like that at his pro day. I gotta look that up too to make sure I'm right on that. But Jaden, we know he's in there working hard. I wonder if he's still getting in there at like 5 a.m. in the morning, like him and Luke McCaffrey were during training camp. So treat about that. Here's a quick picture of Brandon Coleman just throwing the medicine ball, getting stronger, getting tougher, getting ready to play guard. And then what's the other picture that I do have that I screenshotted? That's really it that I got. And then here's like a picture of just the whole team in general. Just a bunch of pictures of like Jaden with a medicine ball. I think this is I don't even know who some of these guys are with the helmets off. The guy with the locks, I don't know who that is. I think this is Dorrance right here at the top right. And then at the bottom right here is like Tyler Biotic. And then yeah, some of the guys, it's kind of hard to tell who they are without their helmets on. But there's some pictures of the guys just working out for OTAs week 1. I did look at some of the other photos, like Zane Gonzalez is still in one picture, even though he gets cut like a couple of days after they took that picture. We're bringing in Matt Gay. So we'll see what happens with Matt Gay. I know some people were making some jokes talking about the Gay way with Tress Way holding the kicks and whatnot. And I'm not too high on Matt Gay, to be honest with you. I'm really not. Like anything under 50 yards, he's pretty good, which is a good thing. Extra points, he's good. That's good. That is very valuable because we've had a lot of guys miss extra points, miss field goals that were less than 40 yards. We've seen that before many times, or below 50 yards, many times before. But anything above 50 is very, very iffy. And that's not out of the ordinary to say. Anybody above 50 is iffy, but over the past 2 seasons, he really has struggled from 50 yards and beyond, where he used to be really, really good with the Rams. So if we can get the Rams version of Matt Gay, then I would love to see that. But it's good to see the guys back in the building, working out, getting stronger, getting tougher, just getting that camaraderie, getting that chemistry. The rookies aren't out there just yet, as they have minicamp coming up May 8th. So I can't wait for that. I'm pretty excited for rookie minicamp for sure. I'm definitely going to make videos about that, as always, every year. So that's about it for the OTAs. Of course, they're not doing scrimmages at this point. They're just working out, just getting acclimated with everybody, getting the chemistry, and just working out and stuff like that. The weather's great outside, so this is the time to definitely do it. As always, as football is an all-weather sport anyway, but this is definitely a great time to get out there and work out and get that camaraderie with the team. I don't see Marshawn Lattimore in any of these pictures. So that is one thing I'm looking for. I don't know if, we'll see. I don't know if Marshawn Lattimore went to voluntary OTAs with the Saints. And I don't want to make that a big deal or anything, but I do want to see, is he a guy that goes to the voluntary workouts? Are we going to get full 100% attendance at workouts and stuff like that? I do pay, like I said, I'm not dinging a guy if they don't show up to a voluntary workout, but I do want to see if he's one of the guys that is going to be there, because he needs to have a really good offseason. All right, guys. As always, have a great weekend. Have the Commanders. Peace.